Hi, Deacon Ed McCormick here on day 22 of our Ignatian experience. And with this day, we turn to the final part of our Ignatian experience, and we focus on the resurrection of Jesus. We will be contemplating in the next 3 days Jesus' appearances to his disciples. And the grace that we will focus on and ask for in these days will be the grace to share in the joy of Jesus' resurrection. So we're moving from the sorrow and shock of the crucifixion, the emptiness and the sense of loss over Jesus' torture and death, to the joy that comes with his resurrection. Now, a word about the notion of resurrection. This is a Jewish idea that the early church used to describe what happened to Jesus after his death. We believe that God raised Jesus from the dead, and by saying that he is risen, we are first of all saying that he is alive, that he somehow broke through the bounds of death, the cage of death, and is now alive bodily in a new bodily way. That his entire physical presence is suffused, filled with the life of God, and that he is now more alive than any other person or creature in the universe. So that's the first thing the resurrection means, but it means much more than that. It means that the domination that death has over humanity and creation has been broken. That a force greater than death, a force greater than evil, has been unleashed into the world. And this notion of resurrection, it's a late Jewish notion found in select texts in the Old Testament. And it captures a whole series of Jewish hopes. The hope that God would defeat evil and death, but more than that, the hope that God would gather God's scattered people, heal them, restore them, give them a new covenant, and then through them, that God would begin to heal and free and renew and restore all of humanity, and in fact the entire cosmos, so that there would be a new heaven and a new earth. And by the early church claiming that God has raised Jesus ahead of everyone else, the early church is saying that it is through Jesus that the power and life of God, the power and life of heaven, is now pouring into our world to free us in all things from death, from evil, from injustice. He now is the source of God's justice, the source of God's peace. He is the one through whom all things will be reconciled and healed, and God's new world and God's new creation will become a reality. Therefore, to claim that Jesus has been raised from the dead means that there is within human experience now a means by which we can be healed and freed, a means by which relationships and human institutions can be reconciled and restored. There is now a source through which God's new world is dawning, and we can be part of it. And in many ways, the spiritual exercises are a powerful personal way of tapping into this, into the life that Jesus offers us. So for today's contemplation, Ignatius asks us to imagine Jesus, the risen Jesus, appearing to his mother Mary at the tomb. And so perhaps you would imagine yourself walking with Mary to visit the tomb of Jesus. Both of you are still distraught and in anguish over Jesus' death. And as you come to the tomb, you notice the stone is rolled away, and suddenly Jesus appears to his mother. And you're there as she shouts in joy that he's alive. They embrace each other. You watch and listen as they talk to each other. And then the Lord talks to you and turns to you. What does he say to you as he begins to share the life that he's sharing with his mother with you? I'll see you in the next video.